Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to Trust and Believe. I'm your host, Shaun T, and today we're going to enhance your ability to trust and believe by helping you drain your brain. And you're probably like, Shaun T, why do you want me to drain my brain? You're always telling me to be motivational and to be inspirational and to be positive. But I'm talking about draining your brain in another way because I know a lot of you are out there that are overthinkers. You cloud your mind with things that get in the way of your results. And today, I'm going to teach you how to drain your brain so that it's clear, calm, peaceful, and absolutely motivational for you. Get ready to trust and believe.
Somebody say hell yeah!
What's up?
He's better than Oprah.
Come on, y'all. This is Shaun T, and it's time to trust and believe.
When I tell y'all, I walk into the gym. And so when I first started training with my trainer, I would walk into the gym and be like, oh, this is going to be tough, but I got this. Now I walk into the gym like y'all walk into your room where you do insanity. I sometimes sit in my car and I'm like, I don't even know how I'm going to get through this. And sometimes I just stare into the sunset. I'm like, Lord have mercy. What is she going to do to me today? And so the process of what I do is I go through this whole process of you're going to die, but you're going to feel good. You're going to feel great. And then I just get out my car and I'm like, hey, you know what? Let's just do this. And I change my mentality and I go in and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm happy. I listen to the music in the gym. I'm probably the only one dancing around in there. People think I'm crazy and I love that. But something happens during the workout. And so every time we work out, there's a ramp and there's like an elevation of how intense the workout goes. We start in a treadmill, we walk for 10 minutes, warming up our legs, we're having a good time. Then we go to the weights and we start lifting. And so each and every exercise that we do, not only does the exercises get harder, but my body and my muscles are also becoming more fatigued because I'm doing more. So as you know, when you start off your insanity workout, the first 10 and a half minutes, which most of you guys think is crazy anyway, but that first round of the warm up where you're like, okay, I'm good. Some of you. Second round, you're like, oh my gosh. Third round, you're like, holy crap. Like I really thought I already worked out. And then we stretch and then we dig deeper. So that's what I do every single day in my workouts. And so, I finish my warm up. I finish my warm up lifting sets. And then I start to do more and more reps, more and more sets, more and more exercises. And then by that third exercise, and probably like the fifth set, because I do a lot of sets, fifth set of the third exercise, what happens is my body just becomes completely overwhelmed to the point where everything is burning. And my trainer literally will not make a rep count unless the form is Mary Poppins worthy, meaning practically perfect. She's like, you're going to squeeze here. You're going to push here. Like even on my eccentric contraction of like if I'm squeezing my chest, right? Like if you do a push up and you're pushing up, you squeeze the chest. She's making me expand my back at the same time. So there's literally nothing happening but pure work. And so when we get to that fifth set of one of those exercises, I'm completely overwhelmed. I'm burnt out. I'm just like, in my head, I'm like, dig deeper. I have all these tattoos. But what happens is I'm talking to myself and I'm like, holy crap, this is hard. I'm focusing on the burn. I'm focusing on the fact that I have more to do. I'm focusing on the fact that I'm already like 30 minutes in. And so all of these things start coming to my mind. And my brain just starts to get cloudy and cloudy and cloudy and cloudy. And so when it becomes that cloudy, what happens is I'm constantly putting negative energy into what I'm trying to do with my output, which is positive energy. So last week, I was just like, I can't go into these workouts the same way. I was like, I have to figure this out. So I said to myself, when we get to that really tough spot, I'm going to do something. And I was like, I'm going to literally empty my brain of everything that's getting in the way. So usually I know I'm starting to struggle, which is a good thing when she comes in and she just grabs either the weight or whatever machine I'm on, and she'll grab it just to give me that little bit to push forward. And when she does that, she also says, "This is all you." And in my head, I'm like, yes, this is all me. Like, this is all on me. And so what I did was I created this funnel in my mind, and anything that was getting away, I just literally, if you take a funnel, I just started to drain everything until there was nothing left in my head but clarity. And another way to say what was left in my head was just, it wasn't even the ability to do it. It was just me saying to myself, get everything out of your way. And the minute that happened, it's not that the exercises became easier or the weight became lighter on the external, but the weight in my mind became so much lighter. And so I finished that, and she was like, "You did really, really good." She gave me a really great compliment. And she was like, "What did you do?" And I was like, "I literally drained my brain." And so today I was able to do a chest press for the very first time. I literally got on the bench. You guys know I had shoulder surgery. There was a point where if my arms were extended, I could barely get my left arm at 90 degrees, and now I can pull it all the way back here. So she was like, "Okay, we're going to do a chest press with a bar." And so I did a couple practice reps, and then I did it, and I was like, wow, this is great. But anyway, so every time I do a really tough exercise after the experience last week where I drained my brain, I then used it, and I used it today, especially with something new that was really, really tough. And I was like, I really want to help people out there learn how to drain their brain. Now, I was talking about that purely in an exercise sense, but I want you to go into your mind right now at points in your day where you feel like you have to drain your brain so that you can push forward. Now, remember, I'm saying drain your brain of the cloudiness that's getting in the way, or I'm saying drain your brain of all the things that are basically telling you that you cannot do it. But I am simultaneously draining my brain of me making myself give myself motivation, because sometimes that also gets in the way. It's kind of like the contrast. It's saying, you can do this, you can do this, you can do this, dig deeper. But sometimes I say to myself, well, I'm only saying dig deeper because this is really tough. And so I just literally push everything out, and it's just like me and clarity, and I know what's happening, and I use the burn. So if there has ever been times where you heard me say invite the burn to your body, that's what I mean, because there's only one way through these situations. Let's say you're at work, or let's say you're in your relationship and you're going through a tough time. Ignoring the tough time is not going to help you get through the tough time. You have to, in some ways, invite the burn. You have to, in some ways, say, there has to be a little bit of confrontation here for me to get to the other side. One of the only ways to do that is kind of like what my father-in-law has taught me many, many times, which is be soft on a person and hard on a problem, right? It's like I have to be really soft on myself, because at the end of the day, if I'm in a relationship and I want this to work, I need to be soft on myself. I need to be soft on my spouse, considering there wasn't anything super crazy that they did. And it's like, well, what is the issue at hand? The issue is we want to fix this issue so that we can move forward. And so in a relationship situation, you have to drain the blame, right? Because you can easily play the blaming game. So once you drain the blame, you can then focus on, well, what is it that we want to fix? And how do we want to move forward? So you invited the burn, the trouble area, but you drained the blame. So now you're like, oh, well, now we can become a team. And so in the gym, I was like, I'm going to just become a team with myself, because by inviting all of this other stuff, it's working against me. Or let's say you're at work, the same thing with a coworker or your boss, or maybe you ever work on a project. By putting tons and tons and tons of stress and pressure on yourself, you start to really add more and more weight to what's already heavy. And so I want to teach you how to create this funnel. Now, if you're listening to this podcast, you won't see it, but I will definitely explain it better. Well, if you're not watching this, I'm going to tell you. So I got my little handy composition book, and I opened to the first page, and I didn't even know it was here. And Scott left me a message that says, "I love you, babe." That's so amazing. I love you. Love, babe, basically. That's so cute. Oh my gosh, I think I'm going to cry. All right, but I'm going to turn to the next page because we're going to drain our brain. If you are watching, what I'm going to do here, or if you're listening, I'm going to draw a triangle. Okay, so basically, I'm going to draw a triangle here. And so, what I do at my Transformation Center weekends is I have this thing that I call the Dig Deeper portion. And so, what I do with Dig Deeper is I always start up here. And so, let's just create 3 little blocks for today. So, at the top of the pyramid, I'm going to ask you, like, what is it ultimately that you want, right? So, let's just keep it very simple. And so, for my workout, I'm going to put success. So ultimately at the top here, I want success, right? So the first thing I'll say is, well, what is one thing that kind of gets in the way of that success? Let's say negative thoughts. I'm just putting neg thoughts, right? I want success, but negative thoughts get in the way. And then I'll ask myself, well, what are the negative thoughts that are getting in the way? And you're like, I'm constantly telling myself, I can't do it, right? So if you're telling yourself, I can't do it, then what's happening? Why are you telling yourself you can't do it? And you're like, well, maybe here's that failed in the past, right? Failed before, right? So let's just keep it very simple. So you failed before, you couldn't do it, have negative thoughts. So now I'm going to teach you how to drain your brain. So before, at the top of this pyramid, you want success. From the success, the reason why you're not having it is because of negative thoughts, right? So that's step 1. Step 2, you're saying you can't do it, right? So now you get deeper into your heaviness. In step 3, it's like, I failed before. So now we know why you have these negative thoughts, right? So at the base of that pyramid, the heaviest thing is that you failed before. So now let's flip it on its head. So step 1, this is the most amazing thing. Step 1 of saying to yourself, I failed before, if that's the heaviest thing, the first thing you want to say is, well, if I failed before, at least I can try again, right? So now you take something that was super heavy before, and now you're saying to yourself, like, wow, you know what? I can try again. And then step 2, if you say you tried again, you really just drain that failed before because you tried again. And now when you say, hey, I'm going to try again, that's like telling yourself, well, you know what? I can do it, or at least I can do something, right? So step 2 is telling yourself, well, wait, I can do something. And now you just drained again, because now when you say I can do something, then you can start to get rid of those negative thoughts because you have positive. So step 3 is like, wow, I just drained the fact that I said I couldn't do it before because I tried again. And now I can eliminate negative thoughts because I have success in knowing that I can at least try again. And so now at the very bottom, you found something successful. So the last step is like, well, I've drained all of this heaviness. So now I literally have success. And now you have more clarity as to why. At the end of the day, you want to drain your brain so that you know why. One of the things that I know a lot of people do this is like the unknown is just like so sometimes scary or annoying. Like for me, death, right? It's like, oh my gosh, I don't even know what it is. And so I went to Dr. Amen a few weeks ago and I had my brain scanned and I had took all these tests. And he was like, what is the thing that stresses you out the most? And I was like, oh my gosh, cancer. Like, it's just like this fearful thing. And the first thing he asked me is like, well, do you have it now? I was like, I don't know. He was like, so why are you afraid? And then he was like, well, why is that the thing? And I'm like, everyone that I know died of cancer. And he was like, everybody? And I was like, well, maybe not everybody. He's like, okay, so not everybody you knew. And then we went down to this thing of like, oh, well, I'm really like creating this narrative that doesn't even exist, right? So he helped me drain my brain of that. And now I'm on this like incredible path of being able to address my health issues, which are really nothing, but my health anxiety was so high because in my brain, I was telling myself there was something. So he helped me literally drain my brain of everything that I thought was going to happen. He was like, but are you going to die? And I was like, yeah. He was like, well, we all are. So if none of this other stuff is happening, you might as well have a good ass time while you're here right now. And I was like, holy shit. So when things get hard in my life, my workout, just moving into a new home and all the stress that came with that, it's like, well, you're eventually going to move into the new home. And I do like to validate people's stress. I'm not saying to not validate it, but at the end of the day, I'm going to have this success. I just have to eliminate the things that are getting in the way of me getting there. The other example I want to choose is like, you ever have a friend text you and say, we need to talk? What happens? Like, I saw this meme that says, the friend says, we need to talk. And the other friend was like, you know how to counteract that is just to be like, yeah, we do. Like, because you're so pissed that somebody said we need to talk and they're not telling you, like, oh my God, what did I do? I just thought that was funny. But at the end of the day, it's like you get stressed because you're like, oh my gosh. Instead of your brain saying like, oh my gosh, my friend has to talk to me. It's like, these are all the things that like they could want to talk to me about. And you start stressing, even if you've never done anything to them. So the fear of the unknown is one of those things that really causes a lot of stress for us. But if we eliminate these things that get in the way of the stress, then we can always have a lot more clarity. Another thing I wanted to go back to with building my home, because there was just a lot of, kind of hurdles. First of all, it was my first time. Second of all, like there's a bunch of people working on the house. And I texted one of my new neighbors and she was like, how's everything going? I was just like, just telling her all the stressful things. I was like, it is amazing. I try to find like the happiness and positive. But she said to me something that was very, very interesting. She was like, whenever you're going through something like this or in life, she says, don't forget to pack your humor. Like we pack so much stress and we cloud our brains with so many things that is a problem that can be fixed, or at least we can know where it comes from, that we forget to pack our humor and forget to have a really, really, really good time. So I say all that to say, if you're out there and you are in a situation in your life where you just feel like everything is heavy, you have to flip that triangle upside down and you have to create a funnel in your mind. Because I practice being positive and I practice, being happy as much as I possibly can. I practice realness with my emotions first and foremost, but I am able to do that a little bit quicker, especially when it comes to fitness, because I know fitness, I know everything it feels like. I know what it's like to be an athlete and to really struggle through moments of, digging deepism, if you will, that really tough part of the workout. So I'm able to like process that really fast, mostly because I know what's on the other side. And so I know that a lot of people have heard of the book, The Power of Now, and you heard of, being a present. We had a guest on, Andrew Murnane, who is just really, really amazing at getting people to screen out the noise and hear what they need to. His whole thing is like, nobody's really worried about you. So like, why the fuck are you going to put all this energy into what other people say about you? And I love him for that. But a lot of times we do try to stay in the present and we do try to stay in the power of now. But sometimes it's really, really great to visualize what's on the other side. One of the most important things that my track coach ever said is visualize the race. And I remember every time before a race, I would just be so stressed the night before because I never wanted to run a slower time. And I never wanted to lose. I was like, let me tell you what's not going to happen. So what he said was visualize the race. And I used to go to my bathroom. And this is in high school. I used to go to my bathroom and I would like close my eyes and I would literally run my race. And I ran hurdles. So I knew how many steps was to the first hurdle. And then once I got to hurdle number 7, I knew I went from 15 steps to 17. And then later in life, I was like 13 steps to 15, whatever. So I would just like visualize my race with my eyes closed. And then when I got on the line the next day, right before I got in the starting blocks, don't get it twisted, I was still nervous. But the minute the gun went off, I was like in my bathroom. And then I stopped racing people. And I was just like, well, at the end of the day, yeah, other people push you because it is a competition, but my body can do what it does. And by visualizing my race, I was able to do what I could do at the best of my ability. And the point I'm getting at here is by visualizing what you want, That's a way of getting to the other side and visualizing the success. So even before you have a relationship conversation or an issue with your spouse, or before you give that presentation at work, or before you start your workout, it's like, you know what, let me visualize how I want it to go. Because visualizing how you want it to go, it eliminates stress, but it eliminates that negative thought pattern that happens with this, which is like, oh my gosh, I'm going to get into this conversation with this friend and then we're going to start arguing. It's like, no, like, what are my intentions? My intentions are to make this better. And the minute you say my intentions are to make this better, you go into it with a lighter voice. And then you can also visualize what you want on the other side. And again, it might not turn out the way you want it, but it will be so much better by way of the process that you actually get there. I'm going to end there because I just want you guys to really, really practice this as much as possible. And I'll leave you with this. I've talked and spoken a lot about my sexual abuse, but I remember when I heard a therapist say, when you can talk about your story and no longer cry about it, it means that you've really been healed. And so I have friends who are comedians and they talk about the issues and they make fun. I'm like, they have really found a way to either deal or cope or now find a way to share their story. We had a guest on here. His name is Sebastian Scales. And, you know, we talked about how he was actually sexually abused and now he uses humor to get to the other side. And so the reason why I tell you this is like, obviously I love to talk about therapy. One, by talking about things in a therapeutic way really helps you on the other side, but also just not being afraid of going through that funnel journey and being able to drain your brain and not being afraid of having that conversation with yourself, not being afraid to say, you know, I failed before, and not being afraid to say, you know, I can't do it. And not being afraid to say, I have these negative thoughts. Because when you eliminate that fear, then you're able to face it head on, just like I did with my journey and my sexual trauma journey. And the more you're able to really talk to yourself, you become soft on the person, yourself, you become hard on the problem, and then you're able to solve things just a little bit better. I really hope this helped you guys. I know it did for some of you. So hopefully you'll go into your workout feeling better the next time. Hopefully if you have anything going on in your relationship, it will really help. Hopefully if you have something at work that you really want to push through, this really gets you to the other side. But most importantly, I hope you were able to enhance your ability to screen out the noise and hear what you need to and believe in your ability to succeed even if you've fallen short before. And like I always say, trust and believe in who you are. And please share this episode with someone who you know gets in their own way. Also, please leave a review for the podcast and share it on social media. I would love to build our community of trust and believe listeners so we can have more and more conversation around anything that's getting in your way, your ability to trust and believe, and especially mental health. And I'll see you guys next week.